from the Life Cycle Management Center, and I'll be today's MC. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the party, the singing of our national anthem by Senior Airman Taylor from the Barnes Center, and remain standing as Chaplain Shelton delivers the invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good afternoon. If you are willing, please join me in Christian prayer. Father God, you are the giver of every good gift. You are the giver of the 1% and also the 3% of the 1%. This afternoon, Father, we give you thanks for this occasion, wherein we commemorate the significant moment, the induction ceremony for the senior non-commissioned officers. For your gracious and ongoing care of these men and women in arms who are gathered and participating virtually online, I give you honor. Father God, thank you for enabling these airmen, their past days of service, to their country and to their families, which has undoubtedly come at the cost of great sacrifice, investment of courage, and tested perseverance. Thank you for giving their instructors the wisdom they need to help sharpen them in the skills you have bestowed in them. By your spirit of truth, I ask you your grace to be upon them as they move forward to care for airmen and execute missions with their gifted skills to precision and excellence. I'm grateful that you have sustained them during this COVID-19 pandemic and ask you to continue to have them in your care. Father, I pray that they give after their next missions in light of your nearness, which brings keen humility, virtuous strength, deep unity, and uncommon resilience. durable joy, and life-giving meaning to the missions, their purposes, their roles, their responsibilities, and their relationships. As they are sent forth from here, Maxwell Air Force Base, to their respective bases, I pray you grant them the needed wisdom in decision-making, character to honorably lead and follow well, attention to your will and your details, and every other necessity that you resource, to the end that they are richly exuding integrity first, service before self, and true excellence in all that they do. I ask you grant this day and the days ahead to be fortified memorial stones, mingled with your presence, your power, and your love. It is for your glory, the U.S. Air Force's joy, and through your Son, Christ's name, I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Senior Airman Taylor and Chaplain Shelton. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, please join us in recognizing our distinguished guest in attendance. This afternoon's guest speaker, the G&M Home Center Command Chief, Chief Master Sergeant Jermaine Evans. The 42nd Air Base Wing Vice Commander, Colonel Jeremy Reed. The 42nd Air Base Wing Command Chief, Chief Master Sergeant Mike Morgan. We'd also like to extend a warm welcome to all commanders, directors, chief master sergeants, first sergeants, supervisors, co-workers, and friends who are in attendance virtually. It's your leadership and your guidance that has helped to prepare our inductees for success. We'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the family members' contribution to our inductees' success. It's important to note that in most cases, our achievements aren't done at a lone effort. Our family members are always by our side, and they deserve much of the credit for our success. You have stayed behind during remote tours, contingencies, deployments, and extended temporary duties, and to you, we offer our sincerest appreciation. Thank you to all the family members that are viewing online. Ladies and gentlemen, the 42nd Air Base Wing Vice Commander, Colonel Jeremy Reed.
Good afternoon to you all. Can you hear me? Sound off. Can you hear me? All right. On behalf of the wing commander of the 42nd Air Base Wing, Colonel Aries Mentor, I just want to say welcome and thank you. Senior non-commissioned officer induction. It's a big deal. It's huge. And I'll tell you why. Because senior NCOs are the mentors, the leaders, and managers of our Air Force. None of us in our careers get to where we ascend to without the help, leadership, guidance, and mentorship of senior NCOs. I wouldn't be the officer I am today if it weren't for Chief Master Sergeant Pat Kern, who I was stationed with at REF Lakenheath when I was a young lieutenant. I wouldn't be the officer that I am if it wasn't for Master Sergeant Pat Powers. I wouldn't be the officer I am today without a Chief Mike Morgan or a Senior Master Sergeant Lewis, who are in this room today, a Chief Evans, who check me, who give me advice, who give me their best recommendations and advice. So as you move from the ranks of an NCO to a senior NCO, we're going to ask more of you. We're going to demand more of you. We're going to ask that you nurture those young airmen. We're going to ask that you challenge those NCOs. We're going to ask that you mentor and guide our young officers and provide our senior officers with your best military advice and recommendation. This is a big deal. It's huge. I've been given the honor to do the opening remarks, and I'm not going to take too long, but you're probably going to hear this a couple of times throughout the afternoon. None of us get to where we go alone. It takes a team. It takes folks pouring into us, guiding us, and helping us. So when you get that opportunity, send that old supervisor or that master sergeant that drove you and prodded you to be better than you ever thought you could be. Give them a phone call, send them an email. Thank that wife, thank your children for being along the ride with you and making the sacrifices that are necessary for us to wear this uniform and do it well. None of us get here alone. So I thank you all for your service. It's an outstanding day in your career. I ask that you take on all burdens with integrity, character, and enthusiasm. And with that said, I'll get off the stage and make room for Chief Evan Flair.
Thank you, Colonel Reed. This afternoon, we'll formally recognize 30 new members into the Senior Non-Commissioned Officer Corps. From the earliest days in the Air Force to today, senior non-commissioned officers have led our enlisted force with a passion to succeed. It's the pride in our past that enables us to continue that devotion to leadership and development of our airmen today. As we look towards the future, we trust in our senior non-commissioned officers to lead and develop the next generation of airmen. Today, this group of inductees will take their place in the highest tier of the enlisted force structure and continue to lead the airmen of the most advanced and technologically superior Air Force that the world has ever known. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker from the Home Center, Command Chief, Chief Evans.
So I'm sweating under this mask. I don't know if y'all could put a filter on that video for me to get some of this sweat off my face. But good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to those who are in attendance today and those who are watching through live stream. I am Chief Evans, and I am honored to be your guest speaker for today's ceremony. Thank you, Chaplain Shelton, for the invocation, and Airman Taylor for their outstanding rendition of our national anthem. Thank you, Colonel Reed and Chief Morgan, and all commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, co-workers, supervisors, and more importantly, the family members for taking the time to participate in this event virtually for our senior NCOs who will not only be recognized today, but who attended the course this week to further enhance their leadership abilities and to continue to fill their bags with tools to make them better leaders, better followers, and better airmen. Many who told me today that they are more prepared not only to lead within their units, but they feel way further along than Chief Morgan did when he put on Master Sergeant back in '97. He's the old guy we were talking about today, as a matter of fact. So I would like to give a special thanks to the team who worked diligently to put this together this week's event for our senior NCOs. Will they please stand and be recognized? That's you in the back. They're so shy. So this week, our senior NCOs did not just get a refresher on leadership. They were given tools to lead in today's environment, to face challenges that are right outside of these doors. Challenges our senior NCOs will face head on and tackle on behalf of our airmen and our NCOs to be servant leaders. Challenges like leading in a virtual environment, understanding generational gaps, and emotional intelligence. So what can I add to what you have already received this week? What can I say to you on a Friday afternoon that will resonate and stick with you throughout your careers? I want to leave you with 3 points, and I'm hoping that at least one of those you'll take with you today. Number 1, lead by example because you are someone's example. There's a quote that says that ethics is caught more than it is taught. That is, people learn their standards and their values more from observing what you do than what you say. Think of a time in your career when someone did something that stuck with you to this day. You may have known them or you may not have known them. You may have told them the impact that they had on your career then or years later, or you may not have. But it was something that gave you that aha moment and impacted your thought process or your actions. As a senior NCO, you are that someone. Those airmen and those NCOs are looking to you to be a senior, to know what a senior NCO is supposed to be and what they're going to be one day. Those CGOs who are just looking to be great leaders, one day are looking at you to get that aha moment. As a senior NCO and the prestige that you bring with those stripes, imagine how many people are taking nuggets away from what you are doing each and every day. Imagine how what you are saying or doing is going to stick with that NCO or that airman for the rest of their life that you may or may not even know about. If you are lucky, maybe years down the road, you'll reconnect with those people and they will share their experience with you. And you may or may not even remember, because to you, it was something so small, but to them, it was life-changing. So it's ironic that this kind of happened today. So Master Sergeant Select Favors approached me today to say, hey, I know you from somewhere. And it turns out that I was a first sergeant at the time speaking to her in FTAC, right? She remembered me because she said, I remember you was a fast burner. And here I am 11 years later with a line number for master, right? And that's awesome. And trust me, I didn't say anything profound, right? It was just what had happened or what I may have done that has stuck with her to enabled her to reach her goals. So that's awesome. Congratulations, Sergeant Favors. If you look at it in context of social media, someone is always Facebook Living you 24/7, okay? So set the example. Number 2, barriers. Imagine coming up to a barrier or a problem, right? There are 3 courses of actions that you can take. You can turn around and go back. You can go around it and leave it for somebody else. Or you could break it down so it's no longer a barrier for you or anyone else that comes from behind you. As senior NCOs, I would expect you to do the latter. As senior NCOs, if not you, then who? If knocking down barriers to the best of your ability in order for your airmen to be productive, to be safe, to establish a culture of respect for all, then you are not living up to the expectations we set for our senior NCOs. And I depend on you to do that for our airmen because they depend on you to do that as well. My final point, develop leaders who develop other leaders. If you read John Maxwell's 5 Levels of Leadership, you will recognize that because that is the 5th level in his book. My expectations for senior NCOs is to be working towards being at a level 5. Not just to develop leaders, but to develop those leaders who are going to in turn develop other leaders. In my eyes, that is how I train my replacement to then in turn train their replacement. In my eyes, if you're not developing if you are developing leaders, you are building teams based on trust and mentorship. If you are developing those leaders to develop other leaders, imagine how deep that trust and that mentorship will trickle down to the lowest levels of your organization. Imagine how many problems we are solving at the lowest level that as senior NCOs, we don't see until it's too late. Imagine the leaders you will be responsible for grooming to be ready airmen and ready to lead in any environment. The list goes on the benefits. For not only yourselves, but for your organization, your airmen, and your officers. I commend you all for dedicating the time this week to further develop yourselves, to be better leaders, followers, and airmen. I commend you all for stepping up to fill your tool bag to better prepare yourselves to lead in the face of adversity throughout all we're going through now and all we will go through in the future. Just remember to lead by example, break down barriers, and develop leaders who develop other leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Evans, for those words of wisdom. Sir, on behalf of the top three and the inductees today, we did want to present you with a quick gift. We did get a brick on your honor, and this reads, "This is to certify that the commemorative brick paver honoring you has been placed in the Enlisted Heritage Hall Plaza at Maxwell Air Force Base, Gunter Annex, Alabama. This action symbolizes the respect and admiration that you have earned and is a token reflecting the highest traditions of the U.S. Air Force. It also symbolizes your personal vote of confidence in the Heritage Hall and its commitment to the preservation of the enlisted history." 3 November 2020. Chief Evan, thanks again. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The inductees are ready to be inducted. All right. The Senior Non-Commissioned Officer Corps is an influential group of professionals, a cadre of men and women who have proven their dedication, loyalty, and abilities in support of the Air Force mission. Master sergeants transition from being master experts and first-line supervisors to operational leaders who merge their personal talents, skills, and resources with other teams' functions to most effectively accomplish the mission while they continue to develop the leadership and management skills that this rank carries. Each promotion within the enlisted rank is significant step in one's career. However, no step is as significant as the one that takes the non-commissioned officer into the senior non-commissioned officer tier. Each subsequent promotion becomes more difficult, yet very rewarding. It's with great pleasure that those present welcome you into the position of elevated authority, responsibility, and capability on behalf of our great Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, Chief Morgan will administer the senior non-commissioned officer charge to our new Air Force Master Sergeants.
Hi. All right, on your feet, let's go. Y'all ready to do this? You don't sound like you're ready. You ready to do this? All right, loud and proud. You are charged with leading and managing your teams while maintaining the highest levels of readiness to ensure mission success. You are charged with translating leaders' direction into specific tasks and responsibilities your team can understand and execute. You are charged with demonstrating, inspiring, and developing in others an internalized understanding of the Air Force's core values and Airman's creed. You are charged with being an active, visible leader. You will deliberately develop junior enlisted airmen, NCOs, and fellow senior non-commissioned officers into better followers, leaders, and supervisors. You are charged with supporting commissioned officers' continued development by sharing knowledge and experience to best meet your organization's mission requirements. You are charged with clearly meeting and striving to exceed the standards levied upon all junior enlisted airmen and NCOs. You will epitomize excellence, professionalism, pride, and competence, serving as a role model for all airmen to emulate. Do you accept these responsibilities? Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
All right, thank you, Chief Morgan. We'll now recognize our newest inductees. Colonel Reed and Chief Evans, please join Chief Morgan to present our newest senior NCOs with their mementos. From the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, Master Sergeant Javen Bim. From the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center and the 42nd Medical Support Squadron, Technical Sergeant Michael and Sarah Borges. Oh. From the Air Force Reserve Officer Training Corps, Master Sergeant Amanda Boyd. From the 187th Fighter Wing, Master Sergeant Elliot Kane. From the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, Technical Sergeant Kenneth Coffey. From the 908th Maintenance Group, Master Sergeant Demerick Evans. From the Eaker Center for Professional Development, Technical Sergeant Lakendra Favors. From the 26th Network Operations Squadron, Technical Sergeant Christopher Gauthier. From the Air Force Judge Advocate General School, Technical Sergeant Luis Guzman Castillo. From the 42nd Comptroller Squadron, Technical Sergeant Derek Hutcherson. From the Air Force Judge Advocate General School, Master Sergeant Militia Jeanette. From the 42nd Air Base Wing, Master Sergeant Derek Johnson. From the Community College of the Air Force, Technical Sergeant Michael Johnson. From the 217th Training Squadron, Master Sergeant Brandon King. From the Air Force Judge Advocate General School, Master Sergeant Angel Kozar. From the 217th Training Squadron, Technical Sergeant Ashley Lowry. From the 232nd Combat Communications Squadron, Master Sergeant Jonathan McLean. From the 331st Recruiting Squadron, Technical Sergeant Ryan McKee. From the Community College of the Air Force, Technical Sergeant Summer Malillo. From the 42nd Healthcare Operations Squadron, Technical Sergeant Alyssa Miller. From the 232nd Combat Communications Squadron, Master Sergeant Rosie Perez. From the Community College of the Air Force, Technical Sergeant Ian Roswell. From the 42nd Force Support Squadron, Technical Sergeant Dan Sims. From the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, Technical Sergeant Sean Valenzuela. From the Air Force Judge Advocate General School, Technical Sergeant Stacy Warfield. From the 99th Air Refueling Squadron, Technical Sergeant Demetrius Watford. From the 23rd Flying Training Squadron, Technical Sergeant Paquita Williams. Good job, man. And finally, from the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, Technical Sergeant Lanisha Wooten. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in congratulating our newest senior non-commissioned officer from Maxwell, Gunter. Please be seated, gents. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Morgan.
All right, so the best thing about going last and providing final comments is that I get to be really short. So first and foremost, Airman Taylor, oh my God. That's the reason why I wake up in the morning and put the uniform on, because I get the feeling that I feel when you sing the national anthem. Thank you so much for being a part of today. Let's give her a round of applause. My good friend, Chief Evans, thank you for your words of wisdom and your 3 points to help our newest senior non-commissioned officers be the best that they can be as they continue to lead airmen and take care of the mission. So thank you for spending the time over here with us today. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, my friend. To the committee that put this together and the people who are behind the scenes all the time that we don't necessarily see, talking to people who went to the grocery store to get the water and the coffee and the snacks, the people who are taking the pictures, PA for live streaming this. I mean, all the things that we're doing to fight through COVID come from these teammates out here. And that's what you get to be in charge of when you leave here, right? You get to be in charge of teams that fight through problem sets. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you can do with these teams. And hopefully the skills and the knowledge and the little bit of talent we helped refine over the past week helps you become better leaders. But it only helps you become a better leader when you start passing it on. And the first thing that I'm going to ask you to pass on is a bit of thanks. So as the chief said, as the colonel said earlier, make sure you spend some time to thank those who helped you along the way, right? Whether it's your mother, your brother, your father, your sister, your wife, your husband, your kids, that old mentor. Make sure you take some time to reach out to them in the near future and tell them the impact that they had on your life and your career. And I guarantee you that connection that you had with them is just going to cement even more. And you're going to start feeling that, Somebody else cares about me. Somebody else cared enough about me to invest in me a little bit. So pass it on, all right? I hope you all have a great weekend. Congratulations to our newest senior non-commissioned officers. I look forward to working with you in the future to help take care of Airmen. Cool.
Thank you, Chief. To close our induction ceremony, our newest senior NCOs will lead us into the Airman's Creed. So, team, let's please stand up. I am an American Airman.
Nation's sword and shield, its century and avenger. I defend the country with my life. I am an American Airman, Airman, leader, warrior. I will never leave an airman behind, and I will never fall. And I will not fail.
Thank you to all in attendance and to those viewing virtually. We wish you a pleasant afternoon. It was my honor to serve as your MC for today's event. Thank you.